Hey everyone, welcome back to the Huddle brought to you by Play USA. My name's Nicole here with
The embarrassed and ashamed Ian St. Clair.
we're both embarrassed and ashamed. My team tied the Detroit Lions. I don't know if it gets more embarrassing than that. We gave them their first non-loss of the season, not a win, but their first non-loss of the season.
And you win for that. But I will say the way the Denver Broncos played, yikes. After that stomping of the Dallas Cowboys, and then to come out like that, like I
I
said,
know.
yikes. At least there's Pookie, as you can see from my Pookie shirt, my Javonte Williams, the rookie running back for the Broncos. At least he's something we can get excited about.
I like it. You have to pick your spots. Honestly, my mom and my brother really want to go to Inglewood this weekend to watch the Steelers game. They've talked me into it, and I'm just trying to warn them. I'm like, guys, I don't like, I'll go, but it might be a Mason Rudolph Steelers team. Like, I don't know how good of a game it's going to be. So we'll see. Luckily, it's close. It's only a 4-hour drive. So, because I would not be flying anywhere to see this team play right now.
Good choice. But you're going to be surrounded by a lot of Steelers fans. This is
That's
going
the
to be
thing.
like a Steelers home game.
Yeah, I mean, we our fans travel well, and so I think you always know when you're going to go to an away game for the Steelers, you're going to have a good fan base there. I've done quite a few hockey games at Staples Center, which I believe is now going to be crypto.com arena. But I've seen some Kings and Penguins games, and let me tell you, it is about 70% Penguins fans every single time I go to a hockey game in LA for to watch the Penguins.
It's the same thing here. And it's the same with Chicago Blackhawks fans, Philadelphia Flyers fans, New York Rangers fans. So, yeah, the
Which is a little frustrating because honestly, the tickets aren't as cheap as they ought to be with like a backup quarterback potentially starting in the game. So that's the only downside to being a Steelers fan is when you go to these games, these tickets hold their value because it's like, guess what? Everyone else is also going to go watch Mason Rudolph potentially like tie again. So it's all right. It'll be something fun to do. It's my birthday coming up, so it'll be a nice little birthday present.
well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It's over. I was born on Thanksgiving. It doesn't fall on Thanksgiving every year, but I'm not going to ever complain about pie and cake at the same time.
Exactly.
All right. Without further ado, should we jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right. It's time for the worst of the week. I'll go ahead and kick this one off, and it is going to be my worst performance is got to be, well, besides my team tying, but the Rams' effort against the Niners. I don't think anyone saw that coming. The Rams are now coming off a second consecutive lackluster performance. 2 weeks ago, they lost against the Titans. Stafford ended up taking the blame for that one and really stepping up and leading the team and saying, hey, that one's on me. But after watching that Monday Night Football game, you cannot blame Stafford for that performance. It was bad all around. That game was essentially over by the time they went into the locker room. OBJ and Von Miller pretty much duds. I mean, OBJ had a solid catch on the first drive and then really didn't do anything noteworthy for the rest of the game. And then Von Miller had one QB pressure and 3 tackles. They could not stop the Niners run. They could not stop the Niners pass over the middle, and their defense held the Rams to a measly 10 points. And now Stafford has thrown back-to-back picks in 2 games. So this is my overhyped team of the week.
And it is fascinating because this is now 5 straight games that the 49ers have beat the Los Angeles Rams. And I saw a funny tweet that said Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay, who owns Pete Carroll, who owns Kyle Shanahan.
The circle of life, the circle of football life. Yeah, I mean, like NFL power ranking, like nobody knows what to do right now, right? Because
Exactly.
the Rams have been at the top of everyone's power rankings and like the odds boards. And okay, you can make excuses for one bad performance against the Titans, but this team looks so disconnected and discombobulated, and you have these big names and they're not moving the needle. I mean, we've talked about this. We said OBJ, it's going to depend on where he goes, whether or not he moves the needle. Rams were not at the forefront of the conversation when we had that discussion, but didn't really impress anyone with his debut with the team. So yeah, this is an overhyped team right now. They're going to face they have a bye, so they have time to get their stuff together, and then they're going to face, I mean, they don't have an easy opponent next. They have the Packers next in NFL Week 12, and right now the Packers are early touchdown favorites, which based off how the Rams are playing, I think that's pretty spot on.
And I think what's happened to the Rams is just a microcosm of what's happening in the NFL. I mean, who had the Baltimore Ravens going down to Miami and the Dolphins looking like the 1972 Dolphins?
Right.
I mean,
don't know what's going on.
What the heck is going on? And that's like the third straight week where we go from Mike White being the best thing to ever happen to the Jets, and now he's being benched for Joe Flacco. Talk about an elite move. And then we have the Bills and the Jaguars, and then the Ravens and the Dolphins. So what's going to happen this week?
Yeah, a lot of anything can happen in the NFL. And then just to round this out, though, I'll end it on a high note. The best thing about that game was Phil Mickelson on the Manning cast. I mean, Peyton and Phil were such a dynamic duo. Eli just got paid to sit there. He didn't even have to do anything for half of that Manning cast that Phil Mickelson was on. He came prepared. He was asking the hard-hitting questions. So props to Phil, because if you went on Twitter during the Manning cast, I mean, people were eating it up. So that was a great addition. And I hope we see him on there. I hope that's not his only time on the Manning cast this season.
The thing that was so great about it is like he completely shot down any talk of there not being a Manning cast curse, kind of like the Madden cover curse. Now there's the Manning cast curse. And he's like, no, it absolutely is still alive. That's why I'm not playing this week.
Yeah, he's like, I absolutely believe it. It's true. You guys are cursed. Yeah, it was just like a gem, because like I said, if you were watching that on the regular broadcast, there was absolutely nothing to watch for the second half of the game. So, I mean, if you are not watching the Manning cast, you need to switch over to it, especially in these duds of a game for Monday Night Football. I mean, obviously some guests are better than others, but man, Phil Mickelson was a true delight. But that about wraps it up for my worst of the week. I know you are very passionate about what you're going to be talking about for your worst of the week.
It really is. It's becoming a weekly occurrence now, with an officiating call that completely changes the course of a game. And we saw it again this week with the Saints and the Titans, where the Saints get a huge interception on Ryan Tannehill. At this point in the game, it was tied 6-6. But instead of a pick and flipping field position, the Titans get a horrible roughing the passer penalty on something that they say is a blow to the helmet. And when you watch this clip, he doesn't come anywhere near his helmet.
I mean, and if he does by residual contact, it's basically me going like, Ian, good job today, bud. Good job on the podcast, or good job on the show. I mean, blow to the head is quite an exaggeration. If that is what a blow to the head is now, I mean, again, we've talked about this where, especially with headshots, you want people to be safe. We want the NFL to be safe, but you have to allow people to play football. He didn't lead with the crown of his head. He didn't, it wasn't like a face mask. He wasn't grabbing or pushing at the head. He kind of like went for the tackle, and it looked like maybe his right arm got like a little bit of the back of the helmet. Like incidental contact, essentially, is what they're now calling for blow to the head.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch the clip, you can see that his left hand hits his shoulder pads and his right hand comes down and maybe after hitting his shoulders bounces up into his head, which is not a blow to the neck or the head. And yes, they need to take away hits to the head and neck. That absolutely positively that needs to be taken out. Same with the shots to below the knees. That's another very dangerous play. But this does not fall into any of that. And with such a huge moment in the game, an interception that flips the game and flips field position, changes the game, because the Titans end up getting a touchdown on this drive instead of the Saints having the ball and potentially marching down the field. Now, obviously, who knows what happens after that point? Right. We don't. But the fact that that was taken away from the Saints, a huge moment in a game that ended up being 23-21 because the Saints couldn't get a 2-point conversion. Who knows how the game changes because of that, because of this horrible roughing the passer penalty.
And I think this segues perfectly into our next segment, which is take it to Twitter, because once you have these horrendous calls, people have opinions on them on Twitter. And so you are in the majority here. Everyone on Twitter definitely seems to agree with you. So I'll let you continue on with this for our take it to Twitter segment.
The thing that is just so abundantly clear at this point, and Mike Florio with Pro Football Talk points this out, there's a crisis when it comes to officiating in the NFL. And it is every week. To be able to do this on a consistent basis. And there is a clip that I saw of TJ Watt, who after a play against the Bears blows a kiss to the Bears sideline and bows. But that's not flagged for taunting. That was way more of a taunting to the sideline of an opponent than what Marsh did to the Steelers after his roughing the hip check that Tony Correnti throwed at him.
Yeah, but remember, it's what they thought he did to the
exactly,
because they didn't know what he did. But yeah, and I agree with you. And so a lot of people on Twitter are trying, and like you said on Pro Football Talk, trying to basically solve, how do you now, I think we're all in agreement, we have an officiating crisis. How do we solve it? I think is the next thing. Like, how do we, again, we're not aiming for perfection. We understand, like, these are humans making calls. There is going to be, it's going to be different from game to game, but it's seeming like this is like, we have a lot of outlier situations that continue to happen week over week. So how do we try to minimize these? And so what is Twitter saying? What do they feel?
Well, Sean Payton, he's the head coach of the Saints, was on the Dan Patrick show, and Andrew Perloff tweeted, "Everyone watching and participating deserves better." And one of the things that Sean Payton mentioned, and I don't know if he said this or if this is Andrew Perloff's commentary, but I think everyone has said this: why aren't NFL officials full-time employees? Why isn't this their full-time job? Why aren't they paid the way that they should be for this? Why do some of them still have jobs outside of being an official? That's madness to me. That shows you how they don't take this seriously. That's why they're allowed to do these, put an emphasis on taunting, where it's a game of emotion and you're trying to take the emotion out of the game, which is another madness issue for me. But the other thing though about this that needs to get resolved is, now that sports betting is legal, now that we don't have teams or leagues so anti-gambling because it's not legal and they can't make money off of it, but now that they can, and now that they have deals, and now that the NFL has deals with basically 6 sports books now, there's a lot of money on the line. This needs to get resolved, not just because of the product on the field and the outcomes and the things that it's preventing in terms of standings and wins and all of that, but also because the amount of money on the line. This needs to get resolved. This is a major issue. And until it's resolved, it's going to continue like this. And the fact that the NFL is never progressive about anything, it's always reactionary, it's not going to change. So something is going to happen that is just so egregious that even Roger Goodell and the 32 owners are going to have to look at it and say, wow, we have a problem.
We have to, and again, we're not saying like the NFL's rigged against sports books or anything like that, but what we are saying is now you have people putting money and you have the NFL teaming up with these sports books, and all people want is consistency. They don't want perfection. They just want consistency. So get these people in a room together and, like you said, start trying to figure out some solutions. But I agree with you. In a league that makes billions of dollars, and these sportsbook partnerships that they're signing are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, like pay these people a full-time wage. They're traveling to games. They're, like you said, they're the difference maker between how some of these games go. Like these people should not be returning and like do a 9 to 5 job once the weekend's over. And again, like how many there's not even that many officials. We're not saying like pay every single person that works in the stadium, regardless of what they do in every stadium across every state, a $55,000 a year salary. But it's like, how many officials are in the league? Like these people are traveling, these people are deciding, huge calls, huge impactful things in the game. Like just make sure that this is all they're focusing on. This is all they should be focusing on, and that's it.
The other thing that I'll mention is it shows the league doesn't take it seriously. If you, the officiating is, as you said, it's a part of the game. And with the human element of it, there's going to be mistakes. Absolutely. But there needs to be consistency, but also it needs to be taken seriously. And if the league doesn't hire these officials as full-time employees, that in and of itself shows that the league does not take officiating seriously. Because if it did, they would have full-time employees. They would put the money into officiating, to invest in it, to make sure that they know the rules and what it is that the league wants, and that the players and the teams and the coaches know what to expect. But the fact that these aren't full-time employees, that they don't have full-time benefits, shows the league does not take this issue seriously. And that's my huge problem with it, is why should officials care if the league doesn't care about them?
Yeah, if I have to go back to my 9 to 5, like on Monday, whatever, like that's my full-time job. I'll worry about that one a little bit more than this one. Yeah, I agree with you. We agree with you, Twitter. For my take it to Twitter, it's actually a very interesting post that you sent me, a very interesting Twitter post, but we've said it before and we'll say it again. Now we just have a little bit more numbers to back up. We understand that people love betting on parlays. And guess who also loves when you bet on parlays? The sports books. They absolutely love it because they're making so much money off of it. And I think it's this interesting, juxtaposition of everyone wants to have that story where they can tell their friends, I turned $10 into like a few thousand, right? That's the most exciting story. Nobody wants to say, or it's not as exciting and glitz and glam when you say, I put $200 down and won 250. People are like, okay, cool. It's not that crazy parlay story. But sports books are profiting, and they're profiting big time off of these parlays, which is why we always warn that yes, parlays are fun, but this should not be your number one betting strategy. There is a reason that every single sports book rushed to get a same game parlay product out once one of the sports books did. So we have some numbers. So Yahoo Sports put out some numbers based off of New Jersey sportsbook. So I'm going to refer to my notes here, but out of $608 million profit that came from completed bets through October of this year at New Jersey sportsbooks, $335 million of that profit came from parlay betting.
Half.
Over half. It's massive. And so just to like deep dive into this, New Jersey sportsbooks win percentage based off of the total handle from parlays is 17.1%.
That is crazy.
A huge hold percentage or a win percentage. So again, this just goes to show that while you might love parlays, and yes, they are fun, the sports books love them even more than you do. They will gladly take your action on them. So for every tweet that you see that some guy bet, $10 and now has the chance to win a $400,000, profit off of a 87 leg parlay, like that's great. And social media does a fantastic job of making it seem like those are the norm, right? Because that's all they post. All they post are these, these rags to riches parlay betting stories. So it makes you think like, oh my God, like these people are taking the sports books for all they have. They are not. The sports books will gladly market these to you because they are making money hand over fist off of parlays. So just remember that next time you go to bet a parlay. They're fun. We do it. You do it. But you have to know what you're getting into here.
And it's not just same game parlays. This is also money line parlays. This is also spread teasers. And I've done a couple of those, but I've backed off a little bit of it given the craziness that has happened, as we talked about earlier on this show, like with the Jets and the Bengals, or the Dolphins and the Ravens, or the Bills and the Jaguars. So, but it's also that too. So there is no lock. So even if you do a money line, the more legs you add to it, the higher the odds become and the less likely it is to happen. And typically if you do a 3-game spread teaser, whether you do a teaser with alternate spreads or you do the spread that the book gives you for those 3 games, it typically comes in at around plus 600 odds. Not crazy, not terrible, but not ideal or great either. So just keep that in mind. They're fun. They're absolutely fun. Have a limit in mind. Don't chase your losses if you end up losing on these parlays. And I think that's what some people do, or chase your wins. That's something else that people can do with
the
this.
Hot
That's
streak.
Feeling like, ooh, I'm invincible now. And it's
I'm
happened.
due to win, or the hot streak is never a tactic that you should be using in your betting.
And it happens with craps. It happens with roulette. It happens with any form of gambling where you start going on a winning streak and you're like, ooh, I think I got this. And then inevitably the odds flip and it starts to go down. But they're fun, but just keep in mind that parlays are very risky. Everything has to happen for your bet to win.
Right. And of course, we understand sports betting is different than a slot machine that is like a random number generator. Like you can research and put research and try to make a skill-based decision or like a research-based decision on sports betting. But my thing with same game parlays was, of course, this is on all parlay bettings, but you have to kind of like read the room here, right? So I believe it was it FanDuel that was the first one to have single game parlays, or was it BetMGM? It was
both. I think they were both around the same time.
And then all of a sudden you start seeing a huge marketing push by other sports books. Hurrying up to get this product out into the market. There's a reason they decided to shift priorities from the operator side and make sure that same game parlays were, it takes a while to get a new product on a sports book. So if somebody gets a new product within 3 weeks of a competitor announcing it, it means that product's making money for the sports book. So that is why now almost everyone has a same game parlay option. So again, that's, we like them, they're fun, but just don't fall for the, rags to riches parlay betting story that you're going to see on social media.
100%. And no matter how much research you do on same game parlays, it's just like fantasy football. You have no idea what is going to happen on the field.
Right.
And with same game parlays, that's what makes it so risky, is because you have no idea. When you do your research for even spread and money line teasers, you can have a basic idea of research and what's happened. But with same game parlays, that goes out the window, because it's just basically, I'm going with this and here we go.
Let's hope it all happens in 4 quarters of football. But all right. Anything else for Take It to Twitter?
We have to go with this. And I know this is a football podcast, but when you see the PGA Tour tweeting out a video of the RMS Classic course dog, which is Grace, and we'll play the video for you, because every show I think needs to have a dog. I think we need to have a Huddle dog, just like the RMS Classic has Grace, where she keeps players in line on the range as they're practicing their drives, but she also keeps morale up. I mean, it's just, this is so awesome. Just watch the video.
She runs operations.
She
runs operations. That's what the tweet says.
So just watch the video and fall in love with Grace, and wish that we all had whatever it is that our job is. For us, we need a sports betting dog.
We do. I will say our minor league baseball team here has Bat Dog, and that's all I watch during the game, right? Like, I'm not interested in the game. I want to see if he's able to get the bat, bring it back to the dugout. And you know what? Maybe the NFL should hire Grace, and maybe she'll get those officials in line.
Yes, we need, instead of an officiating master or whatever it is that they're called, we can just have a dog, because dogs will get everyone in line.
Yeah, they'll bark at you if you're not. You'll know if they're upset with you. I agree. You can never have enough dogs. Let's take it. Oh no, let's get in the boat. We have to get in the boat. We have to take it to Fantasy Island. Row, 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 our boat. All right, mine's going to be quick. It's going to be to the point. If you have Kyler Murray, he's probably been sitting on your bench for the last 2 weeks because he's been out with an ankle injury, but early reports are showing that he has been practicing on a Wednesday, and early reports are indicating that he will play this weekend against the Seahawks. Right now, the Cardinals are listed as -2.5 favorites against Seattle. So if he is on your fantasy roster, this could be good news for you. I would say start him as your quarterback if he's coming off of that injury.
And I have two. So we saw Cam Newton make his triumphant return to the Carolina Panthers. So if you're in need of a quarterback, if you haven't already, there's an option for you to pick up. He's going to be playing the Washington football team, going against his former coach in Riverboat Ron Rivera, who I think are still driving on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the second one is, with the playoffs coming in some of your playoff leagues, now is the time, if you stream a defense like I do, to start thinking about your defense for the playoffs. And there are two defenses I think that should be on your radar, and that is the Green Bay Packers, who have just been phenomenal this year defensively, just shutting out the Seattle Seahawks, and Russell Wilson, who trained 19 hours a day to get back from his thumb injury, which is really, I mean, I get it that NFL reporters are basically just spin machines, but we're just going to be handed stuff and be like, really? Russell Wilson trained 19 hours a day?
You have three kids, Russ. There's no time in the day for that.
Isn't sleep crucial to rehab? I don't know. That's just me. But you could go with the Packers and then the Carolina Panthers, because if you look at their schedules, they have some favorable matchups when the playoffs start. So keep that in mind as the playoffs come in your fantasy leagues if you streamline your defense.
All right, I like it. Yeah, 19. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. 19 hours a day. Like, you would pass out.
Maybe it was 25. I don't know.
19 hours a day. It's like we're doing like that better, like 10 of that better be meditation or something. All right, let's get back in the boat, take it to the mainland, and throw ourselves a little bit of a promo party. This is going to piggyback off my Kyler Murray thing, but if you are a new user to FanDuel, they have an offer out there specifically for the Cardinals Seahawks game. So they are offering 30-1 odds on either team to win. So you can use that offer up until the game kicks off on the 21st. So sign up, deposit, make your first wager on FanDuel, max bet $5 on either team. If your bet wins, you'll be given $150 in cash within the first 72 hours. Ian and I have talked about this time and time again. It is one of the coolest new user offers out there because it is not a free bet that expires or anything that you have to churn through or play through. It's cash in your account. If you want to bet with it, bet with it. If you don't, take it out of your account. So again, I know that there's probably already a lot of FanDuel users out there, but if you are new to FanDuel, make sure you sign up before these offers go away, because I would hate for you to miss out on the cash.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to go with one that is an equal no-brainer. There's going to be, actually, let's say not a no-brainer, because that's the FanDuel one. Let's call this a no sweat bet, a no sweat promo.
Ooh,
and that's and this is DraftKings. So DraftKings is doing for this week, for any NFL game until Sunday, they're doing bet $1, win 100. And it's one of those bets where if you place a $1 money line bet on any NFL game, if either team scores a point, you win $100 in free bets. So you have to sign up, deposit at least $5 into your DraftKings account, and then place a $1 money line bet on any NFL game this week up until Sunday. And if either team scores a point, you get $100 in free bets.
Again, one of those like closest things to free money that you're ever going to get, because if you're placing a wager on a team and you don't think that they can score a point,
well, maybe the Lions. They did tie the Steelers.
I was gonna say they had some points. So,
and as I've said, as I said in the past, the one thing that this does that I like that DraftKings does, instead of giving you a one huge $100 free bet, they break it up into 4 $25 free bets. So that allows the new user to explore the app and try different bets. So you could do a futures on, say, Bill Belichick to win Coach of the Year, or you could do MVP, maybe Lamar Jackson, or maybe, I don't know, Matt Stafford. We'll see how he responds after the bye.
Yeah.
But, or as I mentioned earlier with Grace, and we talked about with Phil Mickelson, again, this is an NFL betting show, but the best value for any sport, at least that I've seen, is golf. So you could take one of those $25 free bets and put it on the 2022 winner of the Masters. And if you look at the current odds at DraftKings, the favorite, Jon Rahm, the favorite is plus 900. The favorite. So that's where you can find good value, because we'll say, any sports betting show will say it's about finding the value. It's shopping the lines, and it's finding the best places to find value, and that's golf. And I mean, the favorite at plus 900. So that's one of the things that you could do with one of your 4 free $25 bets from
Yeah, I
DraftKings.
like it. I mean, you put in $1, right? Like, so you put in $1, maybe maybe a little bit more if you've deposited the minimum, but yeah, you've got $100 to work with. So like you said, if it's in 4 $25 free bets, you can explore the app a little bit, maybe put a bet down on a market that you've never bet before. So I like that promo. All right, it's time for prop lock it and drop it. Last week we did our show early, so we didn't truly have prop picks, but Ian, I think if you said Jonathan Taylor, anything over would have hit for you. So you would have gotten a point if we were able to make a bet.
Yes. And typically I'll do that. And I'm there's one at DraftKings that I'm eyeing right now, but it might be a little risky, but we'll see. I think it still has good value. But Jonathan Taylor, holy cow! I mean, he's fun to watch, and he's what drives that Colts offense. There's no doubt about that. And now they play the Buffalo Bills, and given what Derrick Henry did to that run defense a couple of weeks ago,
You gonna take the over again?
we'll see.
We'll see. All right, I'll go ahead and kick us off. So the 49ers are going to take on Jacksonville this weekend. Their running back Elijah Mitchell might play, but he is coming off of surgery to put a pin in his finger after he broke his finger. And I believe the bone pierced the skin. Disgusting, but sounds like he's going to be okay. But he definitely won't be 100%. The 49ers rank 3rd in offensive DVOA and 5th for passing DVOA. And Jacksonville, on the other hand, ranks pretty low when it comes to the pass defense. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jimmy G over 1.5 touchdown passes on Sunday at DraftKings for -115. Now, I know he hasn't done over or 2 or more touchdown passes a ton this season, but I do think that they're coming off of that huge win. They have a little bit of confidence, and I mean, Jacksonville has surprised us the past few weeks, but I'm going to go ahead, take Jimmy G over 1.5 touchdown passes.
Nice. And I'm actually going to go completely different. I'm not going to go with Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to go to the Dallas Cowboys and Kansas City Chiefs. And at DraftKings right now, they have touchdown props for both Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. Right now, it's the over-under is 2.5. So they would both have to throw 3 touchdowns. Well, given that neither one of these teams plays defense, I'm going to go with over. And the over for both of them is good value. Right now, Dak Prescott over 2.5 is plus 145. Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 is plus 135. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go as risky as to say both of them are going to do it, but I'm going to say Dak Prescott goes over 2.5 against this horrible Chiefs defense.
I was going to say, are you like same game parlaying this?
Nope.
Where are we get? Okay, so we're going just with Dak.
We're just going just with Dak.
All right.
I'm not that, because I've done that. I did that earlier in the year with I believe it was Kyler Murray and Matt Stafford, and it just came up a little bit short, which shows the risk of same game parlay. So I'm just going to go with Dak. Dak over 2.5.
I love Dak. Little fun fact, and there'll be a mini curse word in this next segment. But it's just the A word. So if you don't like the A word, you can cut it here. But my fantasy football team, like when I did play fantasy, obviously I cared about winning, but really I had to have the best team name. Like if you don't have the best team name, I feel like you're not winning at it anyways. Mine was Back Dak Ass Up.
Nice. I like that.
Which if you know that song, girl, you look good when you, so, had to do that. That's why we have prop lock and drop it. I mean, we got to go with like the song lyrics, but that was just my little factoid from my 2 years ago fantasy football. But
the current, I will say the current name of my fantasy team, Horse Paste Mafia.
I like it. See, that's my thing. Like if you don't have a good team name, like I just am not taking you seriously because I just feel like you're not invested, right? Like if you haven't taken hours to come up with your team name, then I just truly feel like you're not invested in your fantasy football team. But
And before we go, so my team logo, it's that photo of Aaron Rodgers that everyone knows and loves.
am I doing it right?
Very close.
Very close. All right, guys. If you are betting this weekend, good luck. We hope your bets hit. If you're just watching the game, enjoy. And we will see you next Friday on the next episode of The Huddle. Bye, everyone.